Okay, so anyway, thank you all for being here today. It looks like quite a group, which is great. First of the year, why not? Um, so welcome to all the people who normally come and to any newcomers that we have. Here is what we have today for an agenda. We're going to start with the University of Delaware, and they are going to talk about their experience completing the departmental advisory initiative that we run. They are the first program to complete it, so it will be interesting to hear what they have to say. Then we'll go and talk a little bit about some new tools, about workshops that we're offering to the Applied Anthropology Network in Europe. That next up will be some recent blog posts. Then we'll introduce you to some of our interns. We have a discussion coming on pressures on anthropology departments, and that's going to be led by Jeff Martin at the AAA, and finally some updates. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jen Trivedi and Carla Guerron Montero, and they're going to tell you about Delaware's experience, including this lovely visual that you see here on the slide. Jen?
Thank
Okay,
you.
I had to run. Oh, run, Jen. Sorry.
Oh no, go for it. Is it you or
No,
me?
you're good. I just came back from running to the bathroom, so I was out of context. Go ahead.
You'd think 40 plus years into this, I'd be used to someone yelling Jennifer and it not being me, but here I am still. So hi everyone. I'm gonna start and then Carla's gonna jump in and talk some more. But we kind of wanted to talk broadly about some things we learned, some things we've already started implementing, and a little bit about how the changes are already starting to affect what's going on here at UD. Um, and we will come back a little bit later in what we're saying to this roadmap too. Um, but Elizabeth, can we go to the next slide
Yes.
too? Because I think that has some of what we're talking about. Um, so in terms of what we learned a lot. I will say first and foremost, one of the things that really stood out was learning about departmental student, staff, and faculty needs in new and different ways. One of these things was that this process allowed for a different space and time for collaborative reflection on what students were already learning in the department, but what was missing, and how at some points the timing was off. So students were getting things, but they weren't necessarily getting them at the exact time they needed. So we learned, for example, that students were getting information about jobs and internships, but they were getting it at literally the last second. They were getting it that final semester right before they walked out the door, and that wasn't working for them. And that staff and faculty were also frustrated with this. So one of the things that Carla will come back to is we're working on moving that up in the process. But we've also started having more collaborative conversations throughout the faculty and the staff about what students are learning and when they're learning it. So, talking about what's going on in different class settings, what we're teaching in terms of methods and theory and application, how we're doing it, and sort of how that spreads across different classes. So, when are they learning it, and does it matter if they're on a different trajectory or not? We've learned about the need for more precise information, therefore, about the pathways through our program. So it doesn't matter if a student is just an anthropology major in general, if they're a minor, if they're in a particular concentration, which right now we have three of, and that's where the roadmap comes into play. We've talked too about the need for more job-related skills building and not only introducing more skills, but also just giving students the confidence and ability to express the skills they already have. So helping students do things like write clearer resumes and CVs, but also giving them the language to articulate what their anthropology degree brings to their skill set. So having them be stronger and more confident in being able to articulate their method skills or their interpersonal skills. And more broadly speaking, just general job and life skills that are more useful. So things like etiquette in general and business. Um, We've also identified the need for more information about and contact with alumni. That stood out as sort of a really big gaping problem. And then two, we also identified the fact that some of the things that we needed already existed on campus in some other unit or department, and we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We could start building better and more robust relationships with those other groups in ways that would benefit everyone. In particular, we have a student success center that's built into our college to help students with jobs and internships. And it's already there, and they were eager to work with our students. And a lot of the job data that we were curious about, there's already another department at our university that is tracking that data for us. We just didn't know where they were. So being able to track down what already existed was a need we really had. And I think Carla's going to jump in now too.
Thank you so much, Jen. And greetings, everyone. It's great to be here in this very, very cold day. And I'm going to continue sharing a little bit about what we implemented based on what Jen just mentioned. And one example that I would like to share is the program we call Pathways to Success in Anthropology, which was developed in collaboration with Joyce Henderson from the Student Success Center. Which, as Jen mentioned, it really is a very powerful center that started very recently and has already done quite a bit. So we wanted to connect with them. They actually invited us to connect with them and develop a pilot program to help students understand the skills that they learned through their degree and also the skills that they need to develop. So in the end, we had 6 anthropology students who participated in this program for a whole academic year. We started in spring 2024 and ended in fall 2024. And they took a 1-credit course that included 7 sessions on behavioral interviewing, 30-second commercial, job search strategies, effective connections, networking, and the program ended with a dining etiquette course and a speed networking event where we invited alumni to meet the students and with the hope that they will develop life mentors. And as Jen mentioned, one of the issues that we realized we needed to work more on was to have this connection with alumni. And this was one way to do it, not the only one, but one. The program was very successful and we plan to implement it again next academic year. As mentioned before, another point was more alumni outreach. So in order to do that, we have been inviting alumni to other events that take place in the department. We have a number of activities that are faculty organized, and now we really make it a point to invite alumni to participate one way or another. We also have developed more communications among the members of the faculty when it comes to the way in which we teach. So we gathered data on how each anthropology member of the department applies the different skills that you learn in an anthropological department in their classes, precisely how they do it in practical terms. And we have this data, and Jen and I were incredibly surprised at the creativity and the degree to which each class has a number of different skills developed in them. So we have that. We will continue to work on that. It's a great database. And we also have invited the Center for Teaching and Learning to come to the department to talk about teaching innovations. As individuals, the faculty used to connect with this center, CETAL, we call it CETAL, often, but not as a department. And one initiative was to do that, to do precisely that. One of the highlights of the whole experience was the creation of this roadmap to create a path for the careers for our students, for the 4 year of studies of our students. And we have one that is general, and then we have one for each concentration. We have used them for internal purposes within the department, but also to share with prospective students and their parents. And that has been one of the greatest successes of the experience. The fact that particularly parents really, really enjoy this visual description of how a whole career in anthropology can look like. And we also continue to advance on the applied anthropology concentration, as Jen mentioned. This was, in fact, the reason why we started the connection with ACRN. And now we are going full circle with all of the information that we have to finally develop it fully and hopefully implement it very, very soon. Do I have just a little bit more of time, Elizabeth?
We're running a little tight.
Okay.
But go ahead, take a minute, Carla.
Sure. So the last thing that I wanted to note is that as a result, we clearly see much more student confidence in terms of the skills that they have and that they will continue to develop as a result of being students in our department. And we are much more confident as a department in sharing what we have to offer within the department, outside the university, and beyond. So we welcome comments, questions. And sorry for going a little bit longer than normal.
No, that's great. So are there any comments? And Jennifer, could you manage this?
Chicken chat. Nope. Any questions?
I would love to see the roadmap. I don't know if it's possible to put it in the tech chat, or I don't want to take up time, but it was hard to see on the last slide.
In the previous slide.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, we can go ahead and share that. And also, just so you know, we did develop a tool on how to develop your own roadmap for your department too. So I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat. And kudos to the Delaware team, because they were really the inspiration for that tool getting developed.
Okay, well, if any of you have any other thoughts or questions for Carla or Jen, you can reach out to them directly at University of Delaware. So this next section is on the new tools that we've been working on. The first, we have two new job seeker tools, one of which is focused on CRM and the other on design anthropology. So take a look at those. They're located on the website under the student page. Then next oops.
Elizabeth, really quick, can I ask a question about
yes,
that design
please, go ahead.
info one?
Yes.
Any thoughts of including UX in the title so people know that's related?
We have a UX tool.
Oh, okay. You got a separate one?
We have a separate one. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
so this
Thanks.
is broadly designed, so it includes, digital, but also, architecture, all that.
Physical products. Yeah, cool.
Yes. And I have a request. If anyone knows of a biological anthropologist who is a practitioner, if you could put that person's name in the chat. We are eager to develop a building careers in biological anthropology tool. But honestly, that specialization is not in my network. And so I'd be grateful for any suggested names.
Do they have to be exclusively a practitioner?
They need to be a practitioner, yes.
I mean, like someone who does forensics, but also teaches?
We have a forensic tool. So this would
okay.
be a general biological anthropology tool. I certainly don't mind if people are teaching, but we would like the primary focus of the person writing the tool to be a practitioner. So if that works, that'd be great. In November, we asked you all for ideas about how we might increase the number of anthropology majors, minors, and just enrollment in general. And so we then asked we got your responses, and we asked our interns to do some research And voila, we have a new tool. It's not posted yet on the website, but it should be up in the next week or so. So thank you for helping us with that. We think this tool is going to be particularly useful for departments, especially those who are seeing drops in enrollment. We also know that our instructor page was a bit of a mess. It had all of the tools just sort of thrown in there, not really organized. And so at some point in the future, we will do a real UX study, but we don't have as many instructor tools as we have job seeker tools. So we temporarily reorganized all the instructor tools into these three categories. And you can see we have some new instructor tools, and you can see how they align with those three categories. So for example, the networking and relationship building, we have two new tools, one on developing your own community advisory board, and then another one on making connections with local organizations.
Elizabeth, is there a search capability on the site? I don't remember. Could I just type in what I'm interested, what kind of tool I want, and could I get there? And if there isn't one, there should be, I think.
Well, at this point, Bob, we only have 15 instructor tools that are actually, no, sorry, I think it's only 9 instructor tools. And with these new ones that we've been working on, it will bring it up to 15. So it doesn't take very long. You can just click through the 3 categories. I think that is a good idea. And maybe we can look into it in the future. But right now, we don't have that capability.
Okay. I was actually thinking of it for all the tools.
Right, but well, let me make
Yeah.
a note and I will talk with Matt
Yeah.
and see what can be done.
Yeah. Not just instructor, but anybody.
Yeah, okay, sure.
What is your process of adding a new instructor tool?
The process is, first of all, finding someone to author it. And sometimes there are 2 or 3 people that author it, or more. Then after it's drafted, it gets sent out for review, usually to between 5 and 7 people. Those comments come back. They get sent to the author or authors who then make changes. Then it comes back to me. I look it over. I may make some suggestions. Tool eventually gets sent off to Jennifer for formatting. It then goes back to the authors one last time and to me one last time, and then it gets published on the website.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. Here are some other tools that are coming soon. Most of these are very close to being done. And now we go to Ryle, who will talk about the workshops that we're doing with the Applied Anthropology Network in Europe. Ryle?
Yes, thank you. So this is going to be very exciting, and I'm going to drag Jennifer Studebaker into this in a minute. So Jennifer, get yourself ready, because Jennifer is actually going to be doing the first one of these, or primarily doing it. Let's go to the next slide, because there you go. Okay, so this is what's going on. Most of you know that there is a group in Europe that's been doing really impressive stuff over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, really. Carla's been very, very closely involved with these folks and knows a lot about it. And if you had questions, I think she might give you better answers than I could. But the group is called AAN, the Applied Anthropology Network. Is a subgroup of the European Association of Social Anthropologists, and they've been running a yearly conference. They've put out publications, they've run workshops, they've done all sorts of stuff. 14 years, says Carla in the chat. Okay, great. And they send people to our SFAA meetings every year. So if you don't know these folks, get to know them. They're really, really interesting people. Anyway, we decided to reach out because we have contacts with them. They're friends of ours. And we said, would you like to do some stuff together? And what came back was, yeah, let's do some workshops together. And so this is a series of workshops that's going to be starting on the 29th of January. The first one is called Building Your Anthropology Skills Toolkit, and you can see what the other ones are here. Jennifer Studebaker is going to take charge of the first one. And Jennifer, if you could talk in just a second a little bit about how that's going to work, that would be good.
Great.
All I want to do is point out, though, that this is following along a sort of a principle that we kind of fell into in ACRN of trying to make everything count at least twice. And so we're doing this as a way to start shaping up something that we're calling the Practice Academy, where we are going to be offering online modules to instructors about how to teach about practice. And so we thought one way to do this is to sort of beta test some of this stuff and do this with our European colleagues. We'll get a lot of feedback. We have a very surprising number of people signed up for this first workshop. I don't know the exact figure, but it's well over 100. Jennifer, you want to say a few words about this?
Sure. Yeah, I think the last count was 175. Now, whether they all show up to the free webinar is another thing too. But this first webinar, we're really going to kick off with two of our tools that are featured in the career tools for anthropology book, but are also available on the website. They're really around, how do you kind of do a self-assessment and audit of the skills that you have. So we're going to work through the identify and rate your skills tool, as well as discussing our translating skills for the workplace tool as well. So this will be something I think will be useful for students, but also instructors too. So whether you're going to be working with students or if you're maybe considering another career change, I think this will be really helpful. So looking forward to that. And just so you know, we are going to do a version of this at SFAA as a workshop, but I'm going to add an additional component there. It'll be a little more oriented towards, okay, so you've identified which tools or skills you want to work on. Let's create an actual plan for making that happen. So.
Yeah, and just so people know, the topic number 6, explaining anthropology to people in your life, we're going to do a workshop on that one too at SFAA. We've got 4 practitioners who we've roped into coming in and explaining how they do that. And then we're going to walk participants through some techniques that they can use to develop their own story. But one of the other things that we're going to learn from this is, how does this look from a European perspective? We intend to make these things very interactive, and we're going to listen very hard, because we know a little bit about how anthropology works in Europe, but not nearly as much as I think we probably ought to. We're not about to go international with ACRN anytime real soon, but we're very curious about how does our experience map or not map to other people in other countries. Elizabeth, you want me to say any more, or shall we move on?
I think that's great. If anybody has any comments or questions.
I have just a thought on this, and that is there a component of the workshop before number 1 that is basically a self-assessment, as in, what are you interested in doing? What would you like to do? And then an exploratory process for discovering how what you're interested in could fit with what's out there before you get into 1 through 6.
No, there isn't at the moment, and we can bring this up in our next conversation with some of our colleagues, but I kind of think the horse is out of the barn at this point with this. That's an excellent suggestion. I mean, on the other hand, one of the things we're sort of a little concerned about and very curious about is, how do you handle an online workshop with 170 people? And we're probably not going to get 170, but even if we get 100, how does that actually work? So there's a pedagogy/training component to this that we're still feeling our way through. But I think that's a great suggestion, Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to make time to ask, what do you want to learn more about in terms of topics? So we should capture some insight there. But yeah, in terms of the self-assessment, in terms of like potential careers, I think the first two chapters in the career tools for anthropology kind of do that in as a whole. Because you've got sort of the what is anthropology, what are the jobs you can do? And then also some of that self-reflection pieces there too. So it kind of comes together, but we don't have one that's explicitly that.
Okay, great. And now we'll go to blog posts. Priscilla. Priscilla, you there?
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm a little diminished. I've just been dealing with a norovirus, so I'm I'm about a quarter of myself. But anyway, I just listened to a very interesting presentation on tourist anthropology, tourism, and ecotourism. And if anybody, the guy who gave the presentation, I'm going to contact him to see if he'd be willing to write a blog for us. But if anybody knows this field or knows anything about it, I think it would be.
It's like a meeting, but yeah. I need to get off.
Sorry, I was finishing.
I figured you were finishing your math.
Hey, Lisa, you're not muted.
I also had a little bit of a.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, I don't I don't know what's going on. Anyway, yeah, so if anybody's aware of that, and I think it might also make an interesting tool on, how you develop a career in tourist anthropology, tourism, ecotourism. It just all came together this afternoon. But we've had some very interesting blogs. They're terrific. A lot of practitioners who are actually talking about what they're doing. I found the woman who worked for Lowe's, Lowe's hardware store, her whole thing in dealing with, wait times and how you get employees to interact with customers and as an anthropologist was absolutely fascinating. And there are several others along those lines. So, if you have a minute, just scan through these. They're really fascinating. And I want to thank everyone again who's written us a blog. I've gotten several people who are interested in writing them or in the process of writing them. So that's terrific. And Elizabeth, as always, has been a master shepherd. I always feel like we're herding cats here, but she does just a marvelous job. So if anybody has any questions about a blog or wants to write a blog or contact me, I'm more than happy to answer. So basically, that's sort of where we are. We're at a tiny little bit of a trickle right now. So it'd be nice to have a little bit more of a wave. So we were a little more secure about, when the next blog was going to be posted.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Priscilla?
well said. We always look for new blogs, so please help us. That would be terrific.
Hey, Priscilla, quick question.
Oh, yes.
How is a blog post different than a toolkit?
A blog post is a personal expression of a personal experience. And sometimes it's somebody who's found employment, sometimes it's somebody who's seeking employment. Each person has a different avenue. Some are in archaeology, some are in UX, some are in cultural anthropology. So, it all comes from the different personal expression. I liken the tools to the structure, to the harder, sort of more structural way. And I liken the blogs to sort of the more affective, the sort of more personal, introspective. If you read the blogs, you'll see what I mean. They're very personal. They're very, they talk about hardships. Sometimes they talk about struggles. They talk about successes too. And, what it means to be an anthropologist and go on this sort of, sometimes uncharted role to work in a field that's not traditionally in anthropology, and sometimes it is a traditional role, but whatever it is, it's always that person's personal journey. So that's the difference, I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Priscilla, I was going to ask, so is it specifically practitioners that you're looking for, or it sounds from what you just said that it was not necessarily practitioners, but people who have worked in that area at some point?
Yeah, we tend to have very interesting that we get mostly is the segue from academia to practitioners.
Mhm.
And sometimes I think people are doing both. And of course, instructors are doing both. They are both teaching students, how to be an applied anthropologist and therefore working in academia. So I personally am not somebody who likes to make hard and fast rules. And I feel if a blog is relevant to what our readers want and relevant to the matter at hand, it's definitely worth reading. I mean, we really don't turn blogs away. We try to work with the writer to come to a blog that we think will our readers will value. So that's basically, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's basically sort of my approach to it.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, Susan, especially with your participation in DAI, I think you'd definitely be a great candidate if you're curious.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of myself, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Oh,
about
sure.
volunteering someone else.
Oh yeah, we're also open to students too. We've had several students publish blogs, and our interns, which we're going to get into in a moment here, we're having them write some blogs as well.
Yeah, and I also encourage instructors, if there are any instructors here, to ask their students to write a blog as part of their course in applied anthropology, because I think it really helps focus ideas and it helps learning how to express yourself clearly and concisely. Writing a blog is not necessarily easy, having just cut one down from 1,600 words to 850 words, and I really don't want to do that again. So so, I really think that it's a great exercise for instructors to give their students, to write a blog, an anthropology oriented blog.
Yeah, and classic for us, we also have a tool for that. So go ahead and drop that in the chat on how to teach with blog posts. That's one of our latest ones.
Right.
Okay, super. All right, Jennifer, you're up with the interns.
Yep, we've got a lot of really exciting news around our interns. So we have 2 of our interns that have been working with us over the last year, just land full-time employment. So Zara, she was one of our co-editors on the Career Tools for Anthropology workbook. She just landed a job as a marketing associate at TKS. And John, he is working with, let me see, U.S. Global Leadership Coalition while he's waiting to find out which grad school he's going to. So very excited for both of them. Next up, we've got our 2 interns that have been working with us. JJ has been active in our social media or media and communications group, as well as she's starting to help Ryle out with that practice academy that you heard mentioned. She's a recent PhD grad, I believe, from Madison, and she is looking for work. So if you have any, referrals for her in the CX Insights department, feel free to send them her way or pass them on to me and I can get them to her. And also Irene is our sort of social media maven currently. If you see any posts, they're either from me or her, though they're mostly from her. And yeah, she's currently at California State Northridge, so send her some love because LA is kind of intense right now. But we're going to jump in next to share about this awesome webinar that she put together. So this was all Irene. Okay, I can't take any credit for this. This is her brainchild. We asked her about, how could we highlight the workbook? And she saw the opportunity to bring together a panel webinar of folks working in business anthropology. So big thanks to Emily, Kira, and Christine for participating in that. We actually had that webinar just on Sunday. It went really well. I think everyone had a really good time and really excited about the results of that. All right, and I'm excited to announce we have 2 new interns joining us. So Melissa Nelson at UNT reached out to me last year to see if we'd be interested in having any interns. And I was originally only going to hire one, but Emma and Mara were both so awesome, I couldn't say no to either one. So they're both joining us as digital marketing interns. So they'll each have the opportunity to do their own little research project related to market research, as well as engage in our email marketing. So Emma's going to be responsible for putting together a newsletter template. So in February, hopefully you'll see a brand new shiny newsletter look when you receive that. And Mara's going to be putting together the general email template. And they'll also each have their own social media campaign and be writing a blog post. I did see Emma's on the call if you want to come on screen and say hi. It's
Okay,
okay if you
hello
can't be on camera.
guys.
Hey,
I hope you guys can hear me. Hi.
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 Yeah, so not to put you on
Welcome.
the spot, but share anything you want.
Yeah, I'm a journalism and anthropology double major at the University of North Texas. And I'm really excited to get to work with you guys and to design the new newsletter template. I have some ideas, so I'm hoping it works well. I'm also
Excellent.
really excited to get to work on the blog.
Thank you, Emma. And I
Yes.
think, Mara, you just joined?
Hi, yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of there was no
Yeah, you're fine.
available study areas in the building I was in, so I'm in my car. But hi, my name is Mara. I'm a senior. As you can see, I'm majoring in anthropology. I'm really excited to be working with ACRN and being able to work on these new projects like the social media campaign and the blog post. Also getting familiar with MailChimp. So that'll be exciting.
Thank you
Super.
both.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Thank
and they
you.
both have the edge on their fellow internship cohort. So UNT has a class for all the internship, and they're using the Career Tools workbook as the textbook for that. So they got it in.
Okay, now we're going to have I think, a very interesting discussion led by Jeff Martin. But Jeff, just want to make sure you're on the call.
On the call, can you see and hear me?
I can, yes.
Good. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. I love how you had stressed there because that's exactly what it is right now. We are stressed. And I also want to point out, I saw Ed that you're on this call as well. So feel free to jump in with this because Ed is on our working group that's looking into this.
Super.
Basically what I want to say is we all know what's going on and for me it's like at the 60,000 foot level I can somewhat understand, although I don't like it, but I can somewhat understand where the general public and policymakers and the media they don't know who we are, what we do, or how we add value to society. And we get that. But to actually have to do this on our own campuses, at our own universities, is a little bit, it's somewhat distressing that we have to do this. Um, I always go back as far as the general public goes, I did, when I first started at the AAA 10 years ago, I took a camera and went out and asked people in DC, what is anthropology? And a large majority of them said, oh, I know exactly what it is. It's a women's clothing store where you can get all kinds of candles and things like that. I was like, okay, we have our work cut out for us. But so on campuses, you can see by the slide that we have up here, it's a financial situation, and what this chart shows us is how it's declined. The number of people are coming out with degrees and actually getting into anthropology has declined a great deal, especially for undergrads. So again, it's a financial decision. That's what presidents are looking for and Board of Regents. However, while one department on the government level shows a negative part of this, go to the next slide. Another department shows a somewhat more positive aspect of it. And I just looked this up for the next 10 years. The last one we saw, the decline was 2011 to 2023. But now from 23 to 2033, they're predicting an 8% growth, and it's faster than all of the other occupations. So that's kind of that's a good thing to know. Hit the next button to see if we have that. Yeah. So this is what we need to kind of push. We need to push all the positive aspects of anthropology and people graduating with an anthropology degree. This particular fact at the bottom is they say there are 800 openings. The last we looked, it was less than that somewhat, but guess what? We'll go with 800 openings. And so that's a positive, but only 200 of those positions are available at any year as far as academia, right? I see this as a positive because I think with the way what we're doing within the world, practicing anthropology is going to play a huge role with anthropology and the growth of anthropology. So this is what we need to point out to everyone, but especially to boards of regents, and college presidents. Go ahead and hit the next slide. And so, this is what most people don't know this, right? They don't know. Even I would submit the college presidents don't know this, that we're working with some of the major corporations out there, and they're looking for what we have to offer. And I think we need to emphasize this. Even when I'm at a party and someone asks about anthropology, and so what do we do? Well, there's a lot. We study cultures, etc. But I go, do you know that 20, 30 years ago, an anthropologist asked people at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what are you having for dinner? And 85% of them said, I have no idea what I'm having for dinner. That led to chickens already cooked being offered at the supermarket. That was because an anthropologist, and we all know that. We all go, "Oh, I love those. I pick them up all the time." So it's things like that that we need to point out that what we're doing. You can go to the next slide. So what we're doing, and Ed, this will come as a surprise to you too, because we've only had what we're doing at the AAA is this is what I consider the thing for 2025 at AAA, and that is addressing this situation of department closures. So what we're going to do is we are going to put together a working group. We've only met once so far, and we're working on the next meeting already. But we're going to put together a toolkit that we can send out to all departments, and we want to have template letters again, and key talking points for them, social media tools that we can help them with, strategies. You can go to the next one.
I think that's it.
No, there should be one more.
Nope.
There was another one, but it's basic strategies that we have. Okay. The other slide said legal advice, what they can do, get students involved, get them more involved in the community right there at the university. So yeah, there are a number of things that we're going to put into this toolkit so that we can show them, what we have to offer. The new normal is that companies are looking for candidates that have the skills that anthropologists have. The essential critical thinking skills, the analytical skills, the cultural understanding. This is what we need from our graduates and from candidates that are looking for jobs out there. So that's where we're at right now. Ed, do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
No, thanks, Jeff. This is Ed Lebo, and I'm really pleased to hear that you're stepping up. I'm sure it's falling all on your shoulders, and you have a lot of helpers here who are, I'm sure, eager to step in and help you out.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thanks, Ed. Yeah. So
Ryle, can you just moderate this? Any questions?
Yeah, sure. So let me sort of try and guide. I mean, I will. I'll moderate. Although I think you guys are doing just fine all by yourselves. But let me jump in. I want to make 2 points here. I think this is great. I'm very happy to see it. There's a couple of things. One is I think there needs to be a cultural shift in the American academy in anthropology. We are pretty terrible at self-promotion. And that is the reason why our presidents, provosts, boards of trustees, and state legislatures don't know about all the wonderful things that we have been doing, because we have been doing wonderful things, but people don't know about it. And if you contrast that with the activities of, say, the business school or the law school, or the engineering school that are always touting accomplishments and making sure that everybody knows. So when you talk, Jeff, to some of the folks in the AAA, kind of try and get them to understand that they need to take a more proactive role. And I understand fully why that is uncomfortable and makes a lot of academics uneasy, but it's where people have got to go if they want people to understand how important this discipline is. That's one point. The second point is something that Adam Kuntz just put up in a little comment, which I think is true. 800 jobs is way undercounted because as some of us have been making this distinction between careers in anthropology versus careers with anthropology. And there are a ton of people who graduate with degrees in anthropology at all levels, BAs, MAs, PhDs, who are employed in jobs that do not have the word anthropology anywhere in the title or the job description, but they are doing anthropology in the same way that, say, a trained engineer or a trained lawyer is a state legislator or something like that. They're bringing the discipline into what they do. And that hasn't been recognized, I think, by us as much as it should be, especially at the undergraduate level. In most of our research universities, undergraduates are the sort of neglected majority. They're tuition fodder, basically. And we graduate them and we don't pay a lot of attention to what they do afterwards unless they're going to be graduate students. And then we take a great deal of interest in them. So I think that we need to attack this on multiple fronts. That's all I'm saying. So I think this is great.
I like what you're saying, Real. Thank you. That's exactly right. And I'm glad you pointed out and someone else pointed out the 800 number, because it probably is low and it probably doesn't include all the jobs that are out there. It also leads us to another part of our toolkit and what we're doing. Inside Higher Ed had a great article last week, a week ago, that was talking about the merging of anthropology, or just the merging of majors out there. And so that's where we need to be. We need to be, it has to be anthropology and business, anthropology and computer science. We tie in with all of them. So that's one of the things I think will help save a lot of departments.
So let's get some more comments.
Jose has his hand up.
Oh, okay. I don't see, where are hands? Do we have hands?
Hi.
Go ahead, Jose.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be hearing this. I'm so glad to hear that the AAA is working on this and there's a work group on this. I've been looking at this issue now for a few years myself, and we've given a few presentations at the SFAAs and at the AAAs with a group that's very concerned about these things. One thing that I'm seeing a lot of is okay, and here's how you kind of sell the discipline. What I'm seeing less of is anthropology. We need a clear theory for why this is happening. We really need to examine what is happening in our society that is causing this. And I've written a little bit about that already. Something came out in Practicing Anthropology this summer. And hopefully me and some colleagues, we were supposed to have a Vital Topics Forum coming out in American Anthropologist in December. Hopefully it's supposed to come out in March. You never know, right? And I have a review article in there also that's a discourse analysis of what are people saying about anthropology. It doesn't look good. And in fact, it looks really, really bad. And if we look at what other colleagues are doing in the other social sciences, sociology, political science, the conclusions they're coming to is that this is much bigger than we think it is. This isn't something that's going to go away. So we need theory building about how to attack this problem, because it's bigger than anthropology. It's bigger than just we're losing undergraduates. It's bigger than just there's declines in enrollment. It's very much a powerful social force throughout the that is trying to shift the way we even look at our own society. And our existence is a threat to that power. And I think we need to look at it that way, or else we're going to be really satisfied with some pretty pathetic metrics that we got student enrollment up a little bit. And I don't say that to be confrontational. I say that because I'm very frightened for the future of this country. The other thing is I see wonderful tools that you guys are putting together. These templates, this messaging guide, this social media toolkit. I think those are good, but like I said, this is a very large, holistically integrated problem throughout the political economy. Are we thinking about things like how do we help the people that have lost their jobs? They gave their lives to anthropology, and anthropology failed them.
Well,
Don't you dare blame those departments.
Yeah, no, I think what we're trying to do with ACRN, I think, as you know, Jose, is we're trying to develop enough materials and resources for people so that they can actually use them.
I believe I believe ACRN is absolutely doing all those things. I'm asking what the AAA is doing. ACRN is the future as far as I'm concerned.
It is, and that's why, to be quite honest, that's why I don't think we're going to reinvent the wheel in total. We're going to work with ACRN, and Elizabeth and I have been working on getting AAA and ACRN on the same page in every way we can. I mean, we have our ACE job board and we have our, what we offer, but that's just kind of surface level things as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, we need to work with ACRN on this.
Yeah,
Great.
and Jose, to your point, I think we're facing a number of things. So when it comes to like academics, we're facing a decrease in just the number of available students that would be enrolling in schools, just because birth rates aren't as high as they maybe were with the my generation. But we also, have a devaluing of education across the board. And a shift towards your market value assets and all that kind of stuff. So Meenakshi, I hope I said that right.
Meenakshi, yes.
Okay.
So a couple of points, and agree with Riel and Jose's comments regarding the future, right? And I know some of the conversations that are happening in the chat itself regarding the 800 positions. I'm one of those anthropologists, I guess, that does not have the anthropology title. I'm a technology strategist, and I'm through and through a corporate girly, right? Like I've been in corporate for the last 2 decades, 2.5 decades. And the reason why I bring that up is that when I'm looking at this toolkit, Jeff, I'm thinking in terms of the audience who's going to receive this specific templates, messaging, as well as a social media kit, right? I love the fact that we're going to continue to tackle the global and local issues, but we cannot, to Jose's point, ignore the fact that the emphasis for the world and this country as a whole in the future, the next 5 to 10 years, is going to be more financial, ROI, corporate, technology, investments in infrastructure that delves into stuff that will enhance and continue to build on the corporate world, basically. Is part of your toolkit, as part of your strategy to explain the benefit of anthropologists, include that specific group of individuals or specific group of corporations, right? Because the messaging, while it may be wonderful to tackle global and local issues, we also have to remember, like a person, like myself, a professional like myself, I am not an anthropologist in title. I am a technology strategist. And my goal at the end of the day, as part of my job, is not only to educate my department through the methods that I have learned in anthropology, but also to make sure they bring in money, right? So that messaging, that translation of skills in the corporate world will be something very important for the longevity of this practice. And I'm wondering if that's something part of your strategy that you will be tackling for the future.
It definitely will be. It definitely will be. As I said, this is we only just started, and this is a lot of this is surface level, what we're doing. But all of this needs to be incorporated into our messaging. Just what you said, as far as how far we extend, how far anthropology extends into what we're doing and who we are, what we do, and how we add value to society. I keep mentioning those three things, but that what you just said is it. So I think you're right. It needs to go deeper. It needs to go deeper. So
Okay, we have time for just one more. Jennifer, you've got your hand up.
Oh, Well, I want to let Lisa have a chance to ask too. I
Okay,
can talk to
Lisa.
Jeff later.
Let's go to Lisa.
Yeah, sorry. I finally am home. So, one of the things that, you know, really strikes me is that I think we all have to do a better job at our universities of networking, of communicating. I know, like, we are trying to really reach out to our business school and, you know, our nursing school and our social work. And I think one of the things, it's scary, but it's also a great space because I know, like, our business school, when we start that process of translation and talking and explaining what we do, they get really excited because they're looking for classes like that. We do a community research project and we're working with the business school. So how do we, you know, I think one of the things to think about is how, you know, not only just this, you know, templates and things, but again, at a deeper level, how do we create really meaningful networks on our college campuses where we are supporting others and highlighting our value. We know we're great in the business world, in corporations, in tech, in all of these things, but we need to be doing it at the university level. You know, and I know it's a lot of extra work. We all have so many commitments and so much service and, you know, class time and all of that. But you know, I know.
Lisa, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
got to cut you off. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We
That's
only have
okay.
2 minutes left. Okay. All right. So we're going to go on very quickly through some updates. First of all, please reach out to people who have not yet purchased this Career Tools for Anthropology book. We have sold over 650 copies since August. That's good. It's not great. I would like to see this book in every single student's hand. I would like to see this book in every single instructor's hand. I would like to see this book in every single practitioner's hand. For case study material, you will not find better material than in these two books. And I say that because these are award-winning case studies. Awarded by the Washington Association of Professional Anthropologists. Every single case study in these books has won a Praxis Award. So if you're looking for what anthropologists do in the world and the impact they have had, these are the books for you. Class projects. Very briefly, we're working with two programs that we have worked with in the past. IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, is going to be working with the Northern Appalachian Folk Festival, and their job is going to try to create a legacy campaign as well as a short video and a pitch to improve business sponsorship. And Susan Squire's class at UNT is going to be working with ACRN as a client on a change readiness screening form. This is going to help us a lot as more and more departments reach out to us to participate in the DAI program. And let's see what else. Lucy and Missy have been working on a certified diversity program that's called Inclusive Culture Strategy. It is starting up February 3rd. There is a hot link on this slide, and we will post these slides ASAP. It is a very well-developed program that has been reviewed by both SHRM and by HRCI, who have given it the stamp of approval in this day and age, with DEI being cut in many universities and in many other organizations. It's nice to see that this is reaching a lot of people and having the impact it has. I also have additional information that Lucy sent me earlier today. So if anyone is interested, please reach out either to me or to Lucy. I see she just put her name in the chat and her contact information. And then last, a really interesting book about innovation. If any of you are biblical scholars of a sort, You will really appreciate this. It's by a member of ACRN, Dominique Desjeux, and I'm reading it now, about halfway through it. And it's really interesting. Market of the Gods. And our next meeting will be mid-March, March 20th at 4 o'clock Eastern. Thank you all so much for attending. I hope I haven't kept you too long, about 2 minutes over. Sorry about that, but thank you again for coming today. Any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
You.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Jose, I liked what you had to say to Jeff. I thought that it was good because you brought in a much wider context for their consideration, and I think what they're going to try to do is helpful. What he didn't talk about, which is still under discussion, is they're going to, at least he's going to propose that the DAI program be advertised as part of the toolkit. If that happens, and if we can figure out a way for AAA to offset some of the travel costs that are involved, that could be something quite useful to programs that are getting increasingly worried.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to do a training program in that case for people because, you know, right now, the three of us, you, me, and Jennifer have been doing this, and that's not gonna, we can't sustain that.
Yeah.
You know, Jose, I did like what you said, and I was thinking about this, and I've been thinking about it for quite a long time. Elizabeth's heard my rant on this before, and I'll keep it very brief and non-emotional. But what I think we're facing in this country and possibly around the world, as far as I can tell, is what I would call a crisis of competence. I think we have, for a variety of reasons, which I haven't entirely figured out, we have allowed an upper level of sort of management in the public and private and nonprofit sector to emerge that doesn't actually know what the hell it's doing. And